I need a child! You are barren!
You are impotent. It's not my fault.
Come with me and we will make babies together.
I want an open marriage. You're broken. Your womb is barren, can't you see? Few words. That's all it took for Park Jun-hyuk to destroy his wife. American fashion designer Pearlie Wilson spent 6 years in Seoul trying to give her billionaire husband a child. 6 years of fertility treatments. 6 years of his mother's cold stares. 6 years of believing her body had failed her. Then he said those words at dinner. 24 hours later, his secretary moved into their luxury apartment as his mistress. But here's what Park Jun-hyuk didn't know. His wife wasn't broken. He was. And the man who would prove it? Han Seo-jin, Korea's most dangerous billionaire. A mafia boss with a legitimate empire and an illegitimate network that could bury anyone. Jun-hyuk's deadliest business rival. Welcome back to the channel. I'm about to tell you a story about a woman who discovered her husband's 6-year lie, allied with Seoul's most ruthless kingmaker, and destroyed an entire empire with a single medical report. This isn't just revenge. This is warfare. Hit that like button because by the end of this story, you'll understand why the most dangerous woman in Seoul is the one a man tried to convince was worthless. Let's begin. Pearlie Wilson had been sitting at the Four Seasons bar for 3 hours when the most dangerous man in Seoul slid onto the stool beside her. She didn't recognize him at first. Her vision was blurred from crying, and the dim lighting of the Gangnam Hotel bar made everyone look like shadows. She'd ordered the same glass of wine twice without drinking either one. Her phone kept buzzing with messages from Jun-hyuk. Demands. Accusations. Where are you? You're being dramatic. Come home. Haein is uncomfortable. Haein was uncomfortable. His mistress was uncomfortable in Pearlie's home, sleeping in Pearlie's guest room, probably wearing Pearlie's robe. 24 hours. That's how long it had taken for her marriage to become a graveyard. Mrs. Park. The voice was deep, controlled, dangerous in a way that made her spine straighten. Or should I say Ms. Wilson? I imagine you'll be going back to your maiden name soon. Pearlie turned. The man beside her was younger than Jun-hyuk, maybe 35, dressed in a black suit that probably cost more than her wedding dress. His face was sharp, beautiful in that brutal way some Korean men achieve through genetics and ruthless discipline. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Dark, calculating. Eyes that had seen things and done things that polite society pretended didn't exist. Do I know you? Her voice cracked. She hated how broken she sounded. No. But I know you. He signaled the bartender with 2 fingers. Han Seo-jin. And I know exactly who you're running from. The name hit her like ice water. Everyone in Seoul knew that name, even American transplants like her. Han Seo-jin, CEO of Kang Industries, billionaire. And according to the whispered rumors at the charity galas Jun-hyuk forced her to attend, something much darker. Mafia boss. Underground kingmaker. The man her husband mentioned with barely concealed fear whenever business deals went wrong. I'm not running, Pearlie lied. You're at a hotel bar at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday with no luggage, no coat, and you've been crying for the last 3 hours. Han Seo-jin accepted 2 glasses of whiskey from the bartender and slid one toward her. Your husband demanded an open marriage yesterday. His secretary moved into your apartment this afternoon. You're absolutely running. Pearlie's blood went cold. How do you know that? I make it my business to know things about Park Jun-hyuk. Especially his weaknesses. Han Seo-jin's smile was predatory. And right now, Ms. Wilson, you're his biggest weakness. He just doesn't know it yet. She should have left. Everything about this man screamed danger. But Pearlie was so tired of being afraid. So tired of being careful. 6 years of walking on eggshells, of monitoring her tone, of making herself smaller so Jun-hyuk and his mother could feel bigger. What do you want? She asked. The same thing you want. To make Park Jun-hyuk regret every decision he's ever made. Han Seo-jin leaned closer, and Pearlie caught the scent of expensive cologne and something darker underneath. Power. But unlike you, I have the resources to actually do it. I don't need your help. Yes, you do. His voice was gentle now, almost kind, which somehow made it more terrifying. Right now, you're a discarded wife with no income, no home and soul that isn't controlled by your husband's company, and no leverage. In 3 months, you'll be divorced, humiliated, and on a plane back to Chicago with nothing to show for 6 years except trauma. Every word was a knife. Every word was true. What are you offering? Pearlie whispered. Han Seo-jin pulled out his phone and showed her a photograph. A stunning penthouse with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. Hanam-dong. Fully furnished. Yours as long as you need it. He swiped. A sleek office with her name on a placard. Creative wear director at Kang Industries. Salary, benefits, and full creative control. I've seen your portfolio from Chicago. You're brilliant. Your husband made you give up your career. I'm giving it back. He swiped again. This time, the image was a medical file with Jun Hyuk's name on it. And the resources to discover what your husband is really hiding. Because men like Park Jun-hyuk don't blame their wives for infertility unless they're hiding something themselves. Pearlie's heart stopped. What are you talking about? I'm talking about 6 years of fertility treatments that failed. 6 years of his mother blaming you. 6 years of you believing your body was broken. Han Seo-jin's eyes were black fire. What if it wasn't you at all? What if someone paid the doctors to lie? The bar tilted. Pearlie gripped the counter. All I'm asking, Han Seo-jin continued, is that you let me help you find out the truth. And when we do, we destroy him together. Why? Pearlie's voice was barely audible. Why would you help me? Because Park Jun-hyuk has been stealing my contracts, bribing my investors, and trying to destroy my company for 3 years. And because the enemy of my enemy isn't just my friend, Ms. Wilson. He extended his hand. She's my weapon. Pearlie stared at his hand. This was insane. This man was dangerous. This deal would drag her into a world she didn't understand. But Jun-hyuk had already dragged her into hell. At least Han Seo-jin was offering her a way to fight back. She took his hand. When do we start? If you've not hit the subscribe button, please do so now. Your engagement is our support and motivation. Also, let us know which country you are watching from. Kang Dae-won didn't speak during the entire drive to Hanam-dong. Han Seo-jin's assistant was a wall of silent efficiency, opening doors, carrying the single bag Pearlie had managed to pack before fleeing her marriage. The penthouse was even more stunning in person than in the photograph. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Seoul like a kingdom waiting to be conquered. Mr. Han said you'd need this. Dae-won handed her a black credit card with her name already embossed on it. No limit. He'll handle the bills. Before Pearlie could process what was happening, the doorbell rang. A woman in her 30s entered like a hurricane of silk and confidence. Pearlie Wilson? I'm Han Soo-min, your stylist. Mr. Han says we have 72 hours to make Seoul forget you were ever Park Jun-hyuk's broken little wife. The words should have stung. Instead, they felt like a battle cry. Soo-min's team transformed the penthouse living room into a war room. Racks of designer clothes appeared. Jewelry. A makeup artist. A hairstylist who took one look at Pearlie's long, neglected hair and said, "We're cutting this. You're not hiding anymore." While scissors snipped away 6 years of trying to please Jun-hyuk's traditional mother, Pearlie's phone exploded with messages. Jun-hyuk, where are you? Jun-hyuk, this is ridiculous. Come home. Jun-hyuk, people are asking questions. And then, 3 hours later, what the hell are you doing with Han Seo-jin? Pearlie smiled at her reflection. Her hair was shorter, sharper, framing her face like a weapon. The dress Soo-min had chosen was midnight blue, elegant but powerful. She looked like someone who could destroy you with a glance. She texted back, building my future. Thanks for giving me the push I needed. Across Seoul, in the Echelon Heights apartment that used to be home, Park Jun-hyuk threw his phone across the room. Kim Hae-in jumped, startled from where she'd been pretending to work on her laptop in his bed. What's wrong? She asked, her voice small. My wife is with Han Seo-jin. Jun-hyuk's hands were shaking. She's at one of his properties. So, you wanted her gone. Not like this. He rounded on her, and for the first time, Hae-in saw fear in his eyes. You don't understand. Han Seo-jin doesn't help people out of kindness. If he's protecting Pearlie, it means he's using her. Against me. The phone rang. Jun-hyuk answered, and Hae-in watched his face drain of color. Yes, mother. I know. I saw the photos. He listened, his jaw clenching. I don't know what she's planning. I'll handle it. But when he hung up, he looked like a man who just realized he'd made a catastrophic mistake. His mother's voice had been shrill even through the phone. Your wife is wearing Chanel at Han Seo-jin's penthouse. The photos are everywhere. Fix this before she ruins us. The war had begun. And Pearlie Wilson had just fired the first shot. Kang Industries headquarters was a glass and steel tower in Gangnam that made Jun-hyuk's tech company look like a startup. Pearlie walked through the lobby in a cream suit Soo-min had chosen, her new portfolio under her arm, and felt every eye turn to watch her. The whispers started immediately. Isn't that Park Jun-hyuk's wife? What's she doing here? I heard she left him. I heard she's with Han Seo-jin now. Let them whisper. Let them wonder. Dae-won escorted her to the executive floor, where Han Seo-jin waited in a corner office that overlooked the entire city. He looked up from his desk and something flickered in his dark eyes. Approval maybe. Or hunger. Ms. Wilson. Welcome to Kang Industries. He gestured to the office next to his. Your workspace. I've already scheduled meetings with the design team. They're expecting brilliance. And if I can't deliver? You will. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. I don't make bad investments. The first meeting proved him right. Pearlie's designs, the ones she'd been working on in secret for years while Jun-hyuk dismissed her talent as a hobby, stunned the Kang Industries design team into silence. Modern Korean fusion wear. Traditional hanbok elements reimagined for global markets. Elegant. Innovative. Commercial. This is incredible, the lead designer breathed. Where have you been hiding? In a marriage that tried to convince me I was worthless, Pearlie said quietly. But I'm not hiding anymore. The news spread through Seoul's fashion world like wildfire. By noon, Pearlie's name was trending on Korean social media. By evening, Jun-hyuk's business partners were calling him with pointed questions. Your wife is the new creative director at Kang Industries? I thought you said she had no talent. Didn't you tell us she was struggling? She looks pretty powerful to me. Kim Hae-in sat in the apartment that still didn't feel like hers, scrolling through photos of Pearlie at Kang Industries. Confident. Beautiful. Successful. Everything Hae-in had thought she was taking from her. I don't understand, she whispered to Jun-hyuk. You said she was broken. She was. But Jun-hyuk's voice was hollow. Han Seo-jin must have. Must have what? Fixed her in 3 days? Or did you just convince her she was broken so you could control her? The question hung between them like poison. And for the first time, Kim Hae-in wondered if she'd destroyed her career and reputation for a man who was about to lose everything. The Shilla Hotel ballroom glittered with Seoul's elite. The annual charity gala drew every major family, every powerful CEO, every social climber desperate to be seen. Pearlie Wilson had attended this event for 5 years as Park Jun-hyuk's invisible wife, always in modest dresses his mother approved, always silent and smiling and small. Tonight she arrived as someone else entirely. The custom gown was pure white, a direct insult in Korean culture where white symbolized death and mourning. Soo-min had designed it specifically for this moment, elegant, devastating, with a neckline that showed Pearlie finally had nothing to hide. Diamonds borrowed from Han Seo-jin's collection caught the light like weapons. And on her arm, Seoul's most dangerous man looked at her like she was the only person in the room. The crowd parted. Whispers rippled outward like shockwaves. That's Park Jun-hyuk's wife. Ex-wife. Are they divorced? She's with Han Seo-jin. She looks incredible. What happened to her? Across the ballroom, Park Jun-hyuk stood with Kim Hae-in clinging to his arm, and Pearlie watched the exact moment he saw her. His champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. The color drained from his face. Next to him, his mother Hae-jin made a sound like a wounded animal. Smile, Han Seo-jin murmured in Pearlie's ear. Let him see that you're not just surviving. You're thriving. So Pearlie smiled. Not the nervous, apologetic smile she'd worn for 6 years. A cold, knowing smile that said, "I know what you did, and I'm coming for you." Junhyuk started toward them, fury written across his face, but his mother grabbed his arm. "Not here," Hae-jin hissed. "Everyone is watching. I don't care. She's humiliating us. She's outmaneuvering you." His mother's voice was sharp as glass. "Han Seo-jin doesn't waste time on charity cases. If he's protecting her, there's a reason. What did you do, Junhyuk? What can she prove?" The question made Junhyuk's face go white. Meanwhile, Kim Hae-in was having her own revelation. She'd been so confident stepping into Pearlie's life, so sure she was the upgrade. But watching the Seoul elite gravitate toward Pearlie and Han Seo-jin, watching the business partners who'd courted Junhyuk now angle for introductions to his rival, Hae-in understood with sickening clarity that she wasn't the prize. She was the consolation. Han Seo-jin guided Pearlie through the crowd, making introductions, cementing alliances. Every handshake was a message: "She's under my protection now. Touch her and answer to me." When they finally came face to face with Junhyuk, the temperature in the ballroom seemed to drop. "Pearlie." Junhyuk's voice was tight. "We need to talk." "I don't think we do." Her voice was steady. "You made your choice. I made mine. This is insane. You can't just..." "Can't what? Leave you? Build a career? Find someone who actually values me?" Pearlie let her smile sharpen. "Watch me." Hae-jin stepped forward, her traditional hanbok rustling. "This is inappropriate. You're still married. This looks..." "Like what, Mrs. Park? Like I'm doing exactly what your son demanded? You wanted an open marriage. You wanted freedom. I'm just taking mine too." The words landed like grenades. Around them, Seoul's elite weren't even pretending not to listen anymore. "The difference," Pearlie continued, her voice soft and deadly, "is that I'm not moving strangers into our home. I'm building my own life. Unless there's some reason you think I shouldn't? Some secret you're worried might come out." She watched Hae-jin's face, and there, just for a second, pure panic flickered across the older woman's features. They knew. Somehow Pearlie knew. Han Seo-jin's hand settled on Pearlie's back. "Shall we? I believe they're starting the auction." As they walked away, Pearlie heard Kim Hae-in's small voice. "Junhyuk, what is she talking about? What secret?" And Junhyuk's hollow response. "Nothing. She's bluffing." But Pearlie wasn't bluffing. And by the end of the night, everyone in that ballroom would know the Park family was about to fall. The envelope arrived at Han Seo-jin's office on a Tuesday morning, delivered by an investigator whose hands were shaking slightly as he placed it on the desk. Pearlie was already there, reviewing design mock-ups, but the sudden tension in the room made her look up. "Is that?" she started. "Everything." Han Seo-jin's voice was flat, controlled in that way he got when he was furious. "Sit down, Pearlie. You're going to want to be sitting." Her legs felt weak as she moved to the chair. Han Seo-jin opened the envelope and spread the documents across his desk like evidence at a crime scene. Medical records, bank transfers, sworn statements from 3 different sources. Park Junhyuk was diagnosed with oligospermia when he was 28, Han Seo-jin said, his finger tracing a highlighted line. Severe. Caused by complications from mumps he had as a teenager. The doctor told him his chances of natural conception were less than 3%. Pearlie's vision blurred. He knew. Before he even met me, he knew. It gets worse. Han Seo-jin pulled out bank statements. His mother, Hae-jin, made payments to 3 different fertility specialists over 6 years. The amounts matched consultation fees plus, let's call them, consultation bonuses. Bribes, Pearlie. She paid them to alter test results, to tell you the problem was your egg quality, your hormone levels, your uterine lining. Everything except the truth. 6 years. 6 years of believing her body had betrayed her. 6 years of hormone injections that made her sick. 6 years of failed IVF cycles where she blamed herself for each negative test. 6 years of his mother's pointed comments about how some women just weren't meant to be mothers. All of it lies. There's more. Han Seo-jin's voice was gentle now, like he was handling something explosive. One of the doctors kept insurance files. He has recordings of Jin instructing him exactly what to tell you, how to phrase it, how to make you feel responsible. He pressed play on his laptop. A woman's voice filled the office, speaking Korean with sharp authority. Make sure she understands it's her failure. My son cannot be seen as defective. The girl is American, she won't question medical authority. Keep her believing she's the problem. Pearlie had learned enough Korean in 6 years to understand every word. The rage that swept through her was so pure, so crystalline, it felt like ice in her veins. They tortured me, she whispered. They systematically, deliberately tortured me for 6 years because they couldn't admit he was infertile. Yes. Han Seo-jin closed the laptop. The question is, what do you want to do about it? Pearlie looked at the evidence spread across the desk. Proof that her marriage had been built on cruelty and lies. Proof that she'd been gaslit by an entire family who saw her as disposable. Proof that Park Jun-hyuk had let her suffer rather than face his own shame. I want them destroyed, she said. Not quickly. Slowly. I want them to feel every piece of this unravel. I want Jun-hyuk's business partners to know he's a liar. I want his mother to face every society woman she convinced I was defective. I want Kim Hae-in to understand she threw away her career for a man who can't give her the children she's probably expecting. Consider it done. Han Seo-jin gathered the documents carefully. But Pearlie, there's something you need to do first. What? Get tested yourself. Independently. Prove beyond any doubt that you're fertile. He met her eyes. Because when this goes public, they'll claim you're lying. They'll say you're bitter and vindictive. But if you have medical proof that you're perfectly healthy, that you could have had children this whole time, it destroys every lie they told. Pearlie stood, her decision crystallizing. Set it up. I want the best fertility specialist in Seoul. Someone Jin can't bribe. Already done. You have an appointment tomorrow morning. As Pearlie left his office, she passed a mirror in the hallway and stopped. The woman looking back at her was someone she barely recognized. Stronger. Harder. Dangerous. Good. Let Park Jun-hyuk see what he created when he tried to break her. Let him watch her rise from the ashes of the lies he buried her under. Let him understand, finally, that underestimating Pearlie Wilson was the worst mistake of his life. The medical report came back exactly as Han Seo-jin predicted. Perfectly healthy. Excellent egg quality. No hormonal imbalances. No reason whatsoever she couldn't conceive naturally. Dr. Lee, one of Seoul's most respected fertility specialists, had been thorough precisely because she knew what was at stake. These results, Dr. Lee had said, her voice tight with controlled anger, suggest you never needed any of the treatments you underwent. Ms. Wilson, someone lied to you systematically. Now Pearlie held that report like a loaded gun. We don't release this yet, Han Seo-jin said, reviewing her results in his office. We plant seeds. Let the truth grow like poison in their garden. The campaign began subtly. A word here, a rumor there, dropped in the right ears at the right moments. Han Seo-jin's network was vast and precise. Within a week, whispers started circulating through Seoul's elite circles. Did you hear Park Jun-hyuk's ex-wife is perfectly healthy? The fertility issues weren't hers? I heard his mother paid off doctors. Can you imagine? Someone said he's been infertile for years. That's why he really wanted the open marriage. Jun-hyuk's business partners started asking uncomfortable questions. Investors requested meetings. 3 major contracts suddenly hit complications. His mother received politely vicious phone calls from society women who'd once pitted Pearlie. In the Echelon Heights apartment, Kim Hae-in finally broke. Is it true? She demanded, standing in the kitchen while Jun-hyuk tried to ignore his phone's constant buzzing. Are you infertile? Is that why you really wanted her gone? It's complicated. It's not complicated. It's a yes or no question. Her voice cracked. I left my career for you. I moved into your wife's home. I let everyone think I was a homewrecker. And all this time, you knew you couldn't give me children either? The doctors said there was a chance. What doctors? The ones your mother bribed. Hae-in laughed and it sounded unhinged. Oh my God. She knows. Pearlie knows everything and she's been playing us this whole time. She can't prove anything. But even Jun-hyuk didn't sound convinced anymore. The breaking point came from an unexpected source. Dr. Kim, one of the fertility specialists Hae-jin had bribed, was facing fraud charges in an unrelated case. Desperate for a plea deal, he handed over everything to prosecutors: records, recordings, bank transfers, including his work with the Park family. The story hit Korea's financial news first, then spread like wildfire across social media. Tech CEO's mother accused of medical fraud to hide son's infertility. Hae-jin's phone rang non-stop. Every charity board, every social club, every organization she'd lorded over for decades suddenly had urgent questions. The same society women who'd sympathized when she complained about her defective daughter-in-law now looked at her with disgust. Park Jun-hyuk's business imploded. Partners withdrew. Investors fled. The company's stock dropped 30% in a single day. And through it all, Pearlie Wilson stood at the windows of her Hanamdong penthouse, watching Seoul glitter beneath her, and felt absolutely nothing except cold satisfaction. "They're panicking," Han Seo-jin said, joining her with 2 glasses of wine. Jun-hyuk called an emergency board meeting. His mother is threatening lawsuits. Kim Hae-in moved out this morning. Good. Pearlie accepted the wine. Let them panic. Let them feel what I felt, that complete helplessness when everything you believed about yourself turns out to be a lie. You know what comes next. Your takeover. She turned to him. You've been positioning for this the whole time. I won't apologize for good business. But Han Seo-jin's expression was serious. The question is whether you're ready for it. Once we move on his company, there's no going back. The divorce will get vicious. His lawyers will come after you. Let them come. Pearlie's voice was steel. I have something they don't have. What's that? The truth. And a man who actually knows how to fight. She met his eyes, and something passed between them that had nothing to do with revenge and everything to do with the way he'd looked at her since the moment she took his hand. Thank you, Seo-jin, for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. He set down his wine glass and cupped her face gently. I didn't save you, Pearlie. You saved yourself. I just gave you the weapons. When he kissed her, it felt like the first honest thing that had happened to her in 6 years. Kang Industries announced the hostile takeover on a Friday afternoon, timed perfectly to hit before the weekend news cycle. The press release was clinical, devastating. Kang Industries to acquire Park Tech Solutions following investigation into financial irregularities and governance failures. The financial irregularities were real. Han Seo-jin's investigators had found them buried in years of creative accounting. Nothing massive enough to have triggered audits, but substantial enough to violate investor agreements and justify the takeover. The governance failures? Those were the medical fraud scandal that had destroyed Park Jun-hyuk's credibility. By Monday morning, Park Tech Solutions no longer existed as an independent entity. Jun-hyuk's board had voted unanimously to accept Kang Industries' offer rather than face bankruptcy. 40% of staff were laid off immediately. The Echelon Heights apartment, owned by the company, was repossessed. Park Jun-hyuk lost everything in 72 hours. Pearlie heard about his mother first. Hae-jin had been escorted from her country club by security after causing a scene, screaming about American whores and ungrateful daughters-in-law who destroyed her family. The video went viral. Seoul society women watched with vicious pleasure as the matriarch who'd once ruled them through fear and judgment completely unraveled. Then came the confession that sealed everything. Dr. Park, the first fertility specialist Hae-jin had bribed, agreed to testify in exchange for immunity. He provided prosecutors with detailed records of how Hae-jin had orchestrated the 6-year deception, including instructions to prescribe Pearlie unnecessary treatments that made her physically ill. The medical board launched investigations. Criminal charges were filed. And suddenly the Park family name wasn't just tarnished, it was radioactive. Kim Hae-in's breakdown played out on social media. She posted a long, rambling statement about being manipulated and used, about how Park Jun-hyuk had promised her a future while knowing he couldn't deliver. The post got deleted within hours, but screenshots lived forever. Pearlie read them in her penthouse while reviewing designs for her first independent collection. She felt a moment of pity for the young woman who'd been stupid enough to trust Jun-hyuk's lies. Then she remembered how Hae-in had moved into her home within 24 hours and felt nothing at all. "He's asking to meet with you," Han Seo-jin said, entering her home office without knocking. They'd stopped pretending there were boundaries between them weeks ago. "Jun-hyuk. He wants to talk." "No. I told him you'd say that. He's desperate. Threatened to contest the divorce, drag you through courts, claim you committed fraud." Pearlie laughed, cold and sharp. "With what proof? With what money? He's living in a rented studio apartment and driving his mother's car." He also said. Han Seo-jin paused. "He said he's sorry. That he realizes what he did to you. He's sorry he got caught. He's sorry his lies destroyed him." Pearlie closed her laptop. "But he's not sorry for the 6 years he tortured me. Men like Jun-hyuk are only sorry when they face consequences." "For what it's worth, I agree." Han Seo-jin crossed to her, tilting her chin up. "You don't owe him closure. You don't owe him forgiveness. You owe him absolutely nothing." "I know." She smiled, and it was genuine this time. "I owe you, though. Everything I have now is yours because you're brilliant and resilient and stronger than anyone who tried to break you." He kissed her forehead. "I just cleared the path. You did the walking." The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday morning. Pearlie didn't attend the hearing. Her lawyers handled everything while she was in a design meeting, presenting her new collection to Seoul's fashion press. The timing was deliberate. While Park Jun-hyuk signed away their marriage in an empty courtroom, Pearlie was building the career he'd convinced her she wasn't talented enough to have. That evening, Han Seo-jin took her to his family home in Bukshin Hanok village. The traditional Korean house was beautiful, private, real in a way the luxury apartments had never been. "My sister wants to meet you," he said. "She's flying in from London next week. Fair warning, she's going to interrogate you about your intentions." "My intentions?" Pearlie laughed. "With me? With this?" He gestured between them. "She wants to make sure you're not using me for revenge." "Am I?" Pearlie asked, suddenly serious. "Using you? If you are, I don't care." Han Seo-jin pulled her close. "But for the record, I don't think you are. I think we found each other at exactly the right moment. Two people who'd been underestimated, who knew what it meant to fight for respect." "I love you," Pearlie said, and realized it was true. "Not because you saved me. Because you treated me like an equal when everyone else saw a victim." "I love you because you're terrifying," he replied. "And because watching you destroy your enemies has been the most impressive thing I've ever seen." They laughed, and it felt like breathing after years of suffocation. 5 months later, Park Jun-hyuk was arrested for corporate fraud related to the financial irregularities that triggered the takeover. He would serve 3 years in prison. But Pearlie didn't attend that hearing either. She was too busy living. The wedding was nothing like Pearlie's first one. No massive ceremony in a 5-star hotel. No hundreds of guests she didn't know. No performance for cameras and society pages. Instead, Han Seo-jin married her in the courtyard of his Bukshin Hanok village home on a Sunday morning in spring. 20 people attended. His sister Kiki, who flew in from London and cried through the entire ceremony. His closest business associates. Pearlie's parents, who'd flown from Chicago and couldn't stop smiling. And Choi Young-ae, the assistant who'd risked everything to send that first email, who Pearlie had hired as her executive assistant at Kang Industries. Pearlie wore a cream hanbok with delicate embroidery she designed herself. No diamonds. No statements. Just beauty. Han Seo-jin's vows were simple. "I promise to see you. Every day. Exactly as you are." Pearlie cried. "I promise to trust you. With everything I am." 6 months after the wedding, Pearlie stood at the Han River, hand resting on the gentle swell of her belly. The pregnancy had been shockingly easy. No treatments. No interventions. Just her body doing exactly what it had always been capable of doing. The irony was so sharp it almost hurt. "Lena," Han Seo-jin said, joining her at the railing. His hand covered hers on her belly. "You're sure about the name? It means free in Korean. Delicate but strong." Pearlie smiled. "She's going to be fierce. I can already tell. Like her mother. Pearlie's fashion line launched that fall to international acclaim. Not under the Kang Industries brand but her own, Wilson design. The pieces blended traditional Korean elements with contemporary American style, telling the story of two cultures finding harmony. Vogue Korea did a feature. Orders poured in from boutiques across Asia and Europe. She hired 3 assistants. Opened a flagship store in Gangnam. Proved every single person who'd told her she wasn't talented enough, wasn't driven enough, wasn't enough, proved all of them wrong. Lena was born in December, screaming and perfect. She had her father's dark eyes and her mother's stubborn chin. Han Seo-jin held her like she was made of glass, and Pearlie watched the most dangerous man in Seoul become completely undone by a 7-pound baby girl. She's going to be bilingual, Pearlie declared in the hospital room. And she's going to know her worth from day one. No one will ever convince her she's broken. Obviously, Han Seo-jin agreed. She's a Han. And a Wilson. The world doesn't stand a chance. 5 years passed in a blur of success and joy. Pearlie barely thought about Park Jun-hyuk anymore. He existed somewhere in the periphery of her consciousness, a footnote in the story of how she became herself. Then one morning, over coffee while Lena colored aggressively at the kitchen table, Han Seo-jin showed her a news alert. Former tech CEO Park Jun-hyuk arrested on additional fraud charges. Pearlie glanced at the headline and felt nothing. No anger. No satisfaction. Just nothing. Do you want to read it? Han Seo-jin asked carefully. No. She turned back to Lena, who'd drawn what appeared to be a dragon eating a castle. That part of my life is over. Your therapist would be proud. My therapist is proud. I told her last week that I finally stopped having nightmares about his mother. Pearlie smiled. The best revenge isn't watching him suffer, Seo-jin. It's not caring anymore. Still, you should know, the prosecution asked if you'd testify. About the medical fraud. Let them use the evidence. I don't need to face him. Pearlie sipped her coffee. He wanted me to feel worthless. The fact that I'm building an empire while he sits in a prison cell is testimony enough. Lena chose that moment to climb into her mother's lap, sticky fingers and all, and demand a story about brave princesses who fight dragons. So Pearlie told her one. About a woman who thought she was broken until she realized she was just being held back. About how she found her power and built a kingdom and filled it with people who loved her exactly as she was. She didn't mention the man who tried to destroy her. That wasn't part of the story anymore.